Okay, and we are live on Facebook as of now.
It looks like we're
Um,
live.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Adriana Stewart, and I'm currently a junior political science and sports medicine double major studying at Howard University. And I have the pleasure of serving as PAWPAC's social media intern. PAWPAC is continuing to interview our candidates in our interview series. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing District 90 State Representative candidate Kelly Krout. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to jump right into the questions. We are aware of the fact that you are running for District 90 House Representative seat, but can you tell us, who you are outside of politics?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I'm Kelly. I'm 37. I've been a stay-at-home mom for several years. We've got a lot of children. We did foster care for several years and adopted a few of those kids, and so we have several at this point. 7 was the last official count. And so we've been busy doing that for a while. I did go back to school a couple of years ago to finish my degree in psychology, and I've more recently been working on my graduate degree in social work. Around the time we were finishing up our foster care time, I wrote a few children's books about foster care system and the most common outcomes of the system to help children kind of understand what they're going through. It's written in kind of a rhymey way that sort of is easy to understand but accurate. That was a goal of mine because there's just not a lot of content out there to help kids understand. So I was just looking for ways to serve that specific community.
That's wonderful. And it kind of leads into my next question. You've done a lot of work within the realm of social work, so much so that, you as you mentioned, you've gone back to school to receive your graduate degree in your studies. You've assisted in reuniting children with their families, and you've written books, as you said, about helping children and families understand the foster care system. So knowing all of this, how are you able to decide, that you wanted to do more and run for a District 90 state representative?
Right. Well, we love foster care. I wish that it's something that was more sustainable to do really long term, but if you adopt a few kids, you start to run out of space pretty quickly. So it's not something that a lot of people can do for a really long time unless they're not adopting, and which we did. So we hit a point where we couldn't help any more literal kids in our home. And so part of why I wanted to go back to school and get my social work degree was to pursue my therapy license to be able to work with foster families, possibly foster teenagers. And then along the way, learned about some of the needs in the political realm and how much difference one could make about policy concerning foster children in the legislature. And so I just sort of keep thinking, oh, well, I've met my limit here. What can I do in this other realm? And just sort of going different directions to see how I can best fit and serve that community.
Of course. Speaking of your campaign, I know COVID-19 has produced a lot of barriers. Many campaigns have been faced with trying to keep the momentum going. And as a result, they're having to brainstorm and find different methods to connect with their community. Can you touch on some of the ways you've gone about connecting with members in your district?
Absolutely. I've had a lot of fun doing that. And then back in March, when everything kind of fell apart, I had not really started campaigning yet because there was a Republican primary that had several opponents in it. And so I was kind of letting that fizzle out, see who I was going to be running against before I really stepped up my campaigning. And then COVID happened and it was like, oh, shoot, we can't get out and do anything now. And so I really took everything to social media and have had so much fun with it. So I've gotten on every platform, and each platform is unique in the audience that participates with it. But the most fun has been TikTok, which I have put over on other platforms as well. And so that has been a really cool way to connect with voters that are local. There are a ton of users on TikTok, and I think that it gets kind of dismissed as like, oh, that's a kid app. But there's over 80 million people on that app, and a lot of them are voting age. And so I wish more people were taking advantage of it. And so I've had a lot of success in engaging with voters in that way. Just had a good time. I think it allows me to be a very authentic version of myself because I enjoy doing that kind of thing anyway. And it seems the feedback I'm getting is that people are tired of typical politicians, and I can be very relatable just on that kind of a platform. And so it's been fun, and I think it's been pretty successful.
For sure. I actually enjoy, scrolling through the timeline and seeing your TikToks. And I usually share them on the Paw Peck page
Hey,
anytime I see them.
thanks.
So they're very effective. And TikTok is a really great app to use. There are a ton of people on there. I know I myself use it and I'm 20. So I can, you can only imagine the age range on there. So
Right.
that is very creative. And I actually love that you have found a way to connect with people that is different from some of the other candidates. But switching gears a little bit, as a foster mother involved in social work and the foster care system, you've been exposed to some of the barriers that occur in Arkansas in relation to lower socioeconomic classes, with the lack of access to resources that could help better the life of the child and provide the family with assets needed to give them a safe and healthy life. As a candidate for state representative, what do you think the state can do to strengthen and empower families impacted by economic barriers, and how do elements of your platform play a role in this?
Absolutely. And I feel like I always want to answer questions like this with the just caveat that there are always scenarios that are incredibly severe where kids need to be removed for safety. And we absolutely support that. But having been a foster parent for several years and had different children come through our homes with different stories, we absolutely saw scenarios where poverty was one of the main reasons that the child was taken into care. And now they're not going around being like, oh, you're poor, let's take your kids. But if you start to think like you don't have childcare, but you've got to work to put money to put food on the table, and then you don't have somebody safe watching your children, or you're really stressed out because you've got no money, you don't have food, you've got your car's broken down, you can't get it fixed. People who are stressed, people who are in desperate situations make bad decisions sometimes. And so it puts kids in vulnerable positions where those stressors, I think, root in poverty. And so I think a lot of what the state can do is help empower these families, support these families before they enter the system at all. In my experience, parents love their kids and they want to do what's best for their kid almost all of the time. There's exceptions, sadly, but most of the time this is true. And so if we can just empower these families with services and not make it so difficult. I'm sure you're familiar with the benefit cliff, how people can work harder, make more money, and then suddenly not qualify anymore for the services they were receiving. And then it's like a pay cut for working harder. My husband and I experienced that ourselves in our early marriage, just struggling through being part of the working class, trying to feed three little kids. And it's frustrating and really difficult. And so I want to see some of those barriers just lightened up so that we can make this a more doable thing and do a lot of prevention in the foster care world.
For sure, without a doubt. Another major part of your platform is public education. As someone who has gone through the public education system, who has children who attend public schools and have family members that have taught and are teaching in public schools, what are some things that you would like to not only do, but to, enhance in the public education system for students and make the experience better for teachers as well?
Absolutely. And I feel like it's kind of a stock answer, but the fact is they just need more funding. I'm tired of seeing teachers having to buy their own supplies for their schoolrooms when that's coming out of their own pocket. And it's a lot. We've got teachers that are bending over backwards to make this happen. And especially right now, they've always been asked to do the impossible, but right now they're being asked to do several jobs at once. So if kids are getting quarantined, those teachers that are teaching in person, they're also sending work home with these quarantined children. Some of them are teaching online as well. And bless my children's online teachers. It's hard to teach kids remotely and make sure that everybody is getting their stuff done. So I just want to see teachers supported. I want to see them have access to the resources they need to do their job well without having to pull it out of their own pockets. And so I know that sounds kind of cliche, like, oh, we need to give more money, but goodness gracious, we need to give more money. Most of our children, almost all of our vulnerable children, are in the public school system. That's where they're at, and that's where we need to meet them.
For sure, my mother is an educator, and so I've seen firsthand the having to buy stuff with your own
Mhm.
money, and it can become overwhelming and frustrating. But we've touched on many different topics today. Is there anything else you'd like to add or speak on from your platform, or just in general before we go?
Absolutely. One of the things that I've had a lot of fun with interacting with people on TikTok is just sort of changing the look of what a campaign can look like. I think most people tend to think there's a sort of a cookie cutter politician. It's usually an older white guy and walking around in a suit, knocking door to door. It doesn't have to be like that. Anybody can run for office who wants to run for office. I've also encountered a lot of women who are asked multiple times, "Hey, will you please run for office?" And they finally give in. And I'm just like, girl, you don't have to wait to be asked. If you want to do something, you can step up and do it. And you don't have to do it the same way everybody else does. This doesn't have to just be for the elite. You're smart enough, you're good enough to do this, and you can do it however you want. And I think my campaign has shown that you can get people involved in politics, you can educate voters in a way that's not insulting, and make people feel empowered to go vote and know what they're talking about. And so I've just had a lot of fun doing that. I really want to squash the myth that politics are for the elite. I'm not elite. I'm a stay-at-home mom with a lot of kids. I'm not wearing shoes right now. Like, whatever. Let's just be a little bit more chill.
Definitely, definitely. There's been a really, really big association with politics. You have to be just the smartest of the smartest and the richest of the richest, and that's not it at all. A lot of times, what we do on a day-to-day basis is political.
Mhm.
So it's really good to see that you are out here trying to change the face of that. It's very appreciated. But with that, I would like to thank you for taking the time to join me today and discuss key elements from your platform and letting us know, who you are. I hope everyone has been motivated to get out and vote either on October 19th or November 3rd. And Paul Pack is wishing you the best with your campaign, and we're hoping to see a win following the election.
Thank you. I appreciate you girls so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And with that, we're going to go ahead and hop out. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.